The podcast that floats down here.
Hi, I'm Melissa, your Stephen King veteran.
Hi, I'm Ben, the Stephen King and horror film fanboy.
And hello, I'm Luke, your first-time Stephen King reader.
And we are here discussing Part 3, Grown-Ups, Chapter 11, Walking Tours, Section number 4, Richie Tozier Makes Tracks. This section was 18 pages long, I believe the longest section in this chapter, and it's 1.65% of the book. Benji, you're up. What happened?
Richie takes a walk down near Bassey Park towards the city center, where he starts to reminisce about how his brain was always on overdrive. Richie heads towards the idiotic giant plastic Paul Bunyan statue and remembers a day in 1958 when, during gym class, Henry Bowers slipped on the wet floor and landed right on his backside. Richie, being his ever-so-kind self, comments, "Way to go, Banana Heels!" much to the pleasure of the other students, but not so much to Henry. Henry lets the trash mouth know that they will see each other soon, and as the school day ends, the chase was on. Richie bolted from the school with Henry, Victor, and Belch hot on his heels, making his way to the department store, slipping in and out of the aisles, all the way to the toy department, where in a stroke of genius, he hit the emergency exit door, causing the alarm to sound, but ducked into an aisle over. The bullies continued their lumbering chase out the doors as Richie casually sauntered on back to the women's underwear department. Pleased with his escape, Richie took off and headed down towards the city center, where he relaxed right next to the giant lumberjack. Suddenly, the giant statue came to life, getting right in Richie's face before taking a swing with his massive axe. Richie, convinced it was only a dream, moved at the very last possible moment and watched the axe split the bench right where he had been sitting. He made a break for it, feeling the axe swing and swish right behind him, and only once he was out of its shadow, turned back to see the statue and bench right in their original places. Back in the present day, Richie is struck for the third time with an intense eye pain, buckling him. As he stands, he sees the new billboard front of the city center proclaiming Richie Tozier All Dead Rock Show. And Richie is confronted again not by the giant Paul Bunyan, but a giant clown. The clown warned he could kill him now, but it would be so much fun later. Then, out of nowhere, Richie produced a voice he's never heard, causing the clown to recoil, and Richie went running again. Once safe, his eyes stung violently one more time before he was able to pull his contacts out, letting them fall to the ground. However, after the pain subsided, the contacts were nowhere to be found.
All right, so we're going to jump right into our thoughts here. And I have one overarching thought from this chapter. Once again, Richie is a poster child for ADHD, all grown up, right? Before we saw him as the ADHD kid as a kid, but now he's like the adult version, who that idea of cornering the voice in his head is really so much just an adult who has found some coping skills of how to deal with this in his real life, but it's still there because his mind just keeps going. So let's use it to our advantage. So that was kind of my overarching theme for this chapter, was he just can't stop.
Yeah, and you can tell because, like we said, this is the longest chapter in this section, and it's just because of just bam, 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 different topic, different topic, different topic, different topic. I'm going from here to here to here to here to here.
And really only two things happened.
Yeah.
I didn't feel like he bounced around that much. I don't know. I feel like every chapter we do that. I feel like the narrator does that. I didn't get that specifically from him more so than we get typically, I guess.
I don't think he bounced. I think the things he threw in as connections, just his list of this musician, this song, this musician, this song, and this and this and this and this and this, and it all ties into that. With most of the other narrators we would get. And then this, and then this, and this reminds me of that. His pace is so rapid fire with the ideas that all connect together into one big jumble because this goes here and this goes here and this goes here. It's not jumping. It's all linear, but they're flying in at massive speeds.
Yeah, and I think that's kind of what I was trying to say. Just Melissa said it way better, so thank you.
I'm interpreting. That's what I'm here for.
Yes, see, Melissa's my interpreter. It's like Luke does for other people. So my first note on this is another Richie chapter, another dive into King's deep nostalgia. He uses Richie as his just pop culture icon, like his pop culture medium.
Oh, yeah. For both the 50s and the 80s, because he's got it all.
Yeah. I'll kind of just jump into it because, this is halfway through the chapter, but the Arnie Woohoo Ginsburg Rock and Roll Show, Jerry Lee Lewis, the Penguins, Frankie Lemon, and the Teeners, Vincent, and the Blue Cap Freddy, Boom Boom Cannon, and Evening of Wholesome Entertainment. And then in 1986, Iron Maiden and Judas Priest are on the marquees themselves. It's just King's way of, boom, nailing out his pop culture and the people he cares about and, that kind of stuff. And I definitely appreciate that from him, making you see what time frame you're in.
So let's talk about the music. Which one would you rather see?
Iron Maiden.
Easy. Iron Maiden.
You wouldn't want to see Jerry Lee Lewis, like, if you got the chance?
Iron Maiden. Yeah.
Okay.
Priest. Yeah, Judas Priest.
But one of my comments here is Judas Priest, Iron Maiden, fuck yeah.
I'm good. Send me pictures.
We'll put it on Instagram, which we are on Instagram. Follow us at Floats Down Here.
That's right.
So one line that really caught me here was, but Richie believed it was the reversion that was the hallucination, not the present life. So this is after he's talking about how he's noticing how everyone kind of reverted in their little reunion, like, hey, I quickly fell back into my comedian thing. He kind of dwells on like, oh, well, that's to be expected at any reunion. But he's really saying that they're hallucinating that actually happening as well, is what I'm getting from the way this line is written. He believes that the reversion into their old selves is fake. It's a lie. And that they're all falling into it. So it's again kind of a real meta perspective on what these characters are going through that, well, I think only Richie would be able to see.
That's because Richie's brilliant.
Yeah, he really, really is.
So I really liked going with that idea of if you go back to the reunion, you revert back to the kid you were. And so he just gives some examples. The class comedian who had discovered a vocation for a priesthood in college would, after 2 drinks, revert almost automatically to the wiseacre he had been. The great English brain, who wound up in a GMC truck dealership, would suddenly begin spouting off about John Irving or John Cheever. Did I say that right? Okay. See, pronunciation, not my forte. The guy who had played with the Moondogs on Saturday nights and who had gone on to become a mathematics professor at Cornell would suddenly find himself on stage with a band of Fender guitars strapped over his shoulder, whooping out Gloria or Surfenberg with a gleeful drunken ferocity.
Yeah.
It's so smart how Richie notices it, labels it, explains it, and then lets it go. Like, it is what it is. And this is who I was, so this is who I am with them. And it's almost like he's saying, but that doesn't define who I am as a grown-up. Like, I can be somebody else as a grown-up, except that he's throwing the word grown-up right out the window because grown-up sounds so weird in Derry.
So, right in that same kind of vein there, it's, basically he goes on to say, the narrator for him, as a kid, he had been a goof-off, a sometimes vulgar, sometimes amusing comedian, because it was one way to get along without getting killed by kids like Henry Bowers or going absolutely Looney Tunes with boredom and loneliness. So we get some depth out of Richie here again that, maybe he suffered from depression because he couldn't control these inclinations to stand out. Like, it's clearly there's a lot going on in his brain. He cannot shut it off, right? And so one reason I think he is the one that is able to kind of see this theme between everybody is because he had to forcibly learn who he was himself. And because of that, forced just, back of the napkin psychology to realize these things. And that goes right into the next kind of section where he basically talks about how he stumbled across one of the most important keys to success. And you found the crazy guy who was running around inside you, fucking up your life. You chased him into a corner and grabbed him, but you didn't kill him. Oh no, killing was too good for the likes of that little bastard. You put a harness over his head and then started plowing. The crazy guy worked like a demon once you had him in your traces. He's been able to really take what you could look at as being a deficiency, right? The thing that makes him a loser. Yeah. And he makes it a strength.
Exactly. Neurodiversity.
Yep, look at you.
I know big words, and I even know what that means.
That's even more good.
Yeah, it sort of applies to my job-ish.
All right, so we want to talk about the Henry Bowers rundown and interaction. if you slip and fall in front of Richie, you're not getting away without a comment. It doesn't matter who you are. Let's just put that out there.
I do like that Richie said, he's not going to remember, but I'm going to go out the back door just in case.
Yeah. And then wasn't it Belch sitting out there,
Yeah.
a little slow, and because we got the in Eddie's chapter how Belch, the only way he could catch balls if he just happened to have his glove overturned and just fell in.
Can you imagine what had happened if it had been Victor or Henry standing out that door?
Or who's the other one? I always forget the fourth friend.
I've only heard of him.
Eddie mentioned him in his chapter, but
Okay.
I'm blanking on.
Oh, the one who stopped hanging out with them so much.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know.
I forget.
I don't remember.
Anyway, but yeah, any one of those three, Richie doesn't stand a chance.
Right.
But,
Melissa, you referenced what if it had been, Hank or Victor Chris standing there? Like, do you think would have been worse if it was Victor Chris?
Oh, I think Victor would have caught him.
Just he would have had the ability to catch him.
Yeah, I think the reason, even though Richie had to run his ass off to get away, if it had been anybody else, they would have caught him because Belch might have been a little slow on the uptake. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, I think any one of the others would have been able to react fast enough to get him.
Exactly.
Just something that stood out to me specifically about Victor Chris was he was the one that hesitated when they were chasing him and the sales clerk started shouting after them. So like I didn't go back and check, but I feel like there was at one point, and I think I'm actually thinking of the first group with Adrian Mellon, those three. There was one or even two of them that were like, hey man, we probably shouldn't, like, they almost had like a conscience. And so I kind of got a brief instance of maybe Victor Chris has a conscience as well where the other two don't, but I don't know. Maybe, maybe Belch Huggins is just too dumb, and clearly Henry Bowers is pretty straight up evil that we've seen. So
the only section that, and I'm not going to disagree with you, but the only section in here besides that moment with Victor, it's page 552 in my book, but it says, as he was running through the revolving door, right? As he was running through the revolving door, and it says that he understood that Larry, Moe, and Curly were still after him. Love that reference, by the way.
yes, definitely.
He was laughing as he went down the stairs to the basement level, but that was only a nervous tick. He was as full of terror as a rabbit caught in a wire snare. They really meant to beat him up good this time. And it's the next part, the parentheses, that stuck out to me. He had no idea that in another 10 weeks or so, he would believe the three of them, Henry in particular, capable of anything short of murder. And he would surely have whitened with shock if he had known of the apocalyptic rock fight in July, when even that last qualification would disappear from his mind. So it's the idea that...
I had that whole thing highlighted as well, because I'm so glad you touched on it.
Excellent. Because it's, oh, they're going to beat me up. Like, that was the biggest fear in the middle of the school year. Mm-hmm. And then over the summer it was, okay, well, they can do anything except kill me. And then we find out here that at some point something happens where even killing him is a distinct possibility. It's, in fact, probable. So that to me says, like, at least in that moment, in that moment, Victor might have paused. But I don't know if it's going to happen forever. Sure don't seem like it.
Sure. And this doesn't seem to be amped up by Pennywise like we've seen before. Like,
this is just kids being dumb.
Just them which is why I think I'm feeling foreshadowing to them being tools for Pennywise later, which amplify over and over again.
Exactly. Now, I do have a comment with the run. That was a definite Jerry from Tom and Jerry. It's type escape, hitting the emergency door and then doubling back. You hit the door, tuck and run, and watch him run out the door, kind of thing. It shows how fast Richie's brain does move. He can hit the door and go, or hit the door and backtrack. Even in that kind of quick moving mentality state that he's in, it shows that his brain moves that fast and he puts it to use.
Hey Melissa, you want to talk about Percy Jackson here? Because I feel like it fits here very well.
Yes. Sorry, I had to catch up with you because that's kind of funny actually. So the Percy Jackson series is one of my favorite, like, I'm not going to say kid, and it's not quite young adult, it's like in between, so like 5th grade, like targeted 5th, 6th grade. And it was written, the author, Rick Riordan, wrote it because his oldest son had ADHD and felt like he could never find books about him, or any kid who had that was always the bad kid or always like the dumb kid, like just always got in trouble. And so Rick crafted Percy to have ADHD, and he turned it into his number one resiliency. So as Percy is this demigod, the ADHD isn't actual ADHD. It's his ability to survive and think fast on his feet, and not even think, but react quick enough to fight well. And so it became this really amazing skill that if he didn't have it, he would have died who knows how many times. So again, neurodiversity, right? The different things different people's brains can do that are there for a purpose, whether or not we use those for those purposes anymore. But that's like how he wrote off what ADHD can be used for. It's kind of an awesome twist on that.
Yeah, I just definitely, when Benji was talking about him utilizing that with Richie utilizing that superpower right here, that's exactly what I thought. I was like, oh, that's like Percy Jackson. So
yeah. Okay, can we move on to Paul?
Yes.
Do we want to do all of Paul, or do we want to do early Paul and late Paul?
So we already got past early Paul. Or no, there was just the conversation of the implementation of the plastic fucking statue.
Which was, yes.
Over it. It's plastic 26-foot tall statue. How fucking gaudy and cheesy.
Let me ask, what is like I mean, I get it. It's plastic. It's going to last forever. But is it going to maintain its color and shape? I worry about. I don't know.
I don't. I mean, I'm sure they could bake the color into the enamel that they use so that it would be perfect forever. I mean,
I'm sure it's like a tattoo, right? Like eventually the color is going to fade with wear and tear.
It'll be imbued in the plastic itself. It's actually folded into it, as opposed to like the Statue of David, which is marble, right? That was at one point painted. All that's gone. It's just white marble now.
True.
So, and now my question though with Paul is, if you have a Paul, why do you not have a Babe?
You don't have money for it. They said that in there. There wasn't money for the Babe.
Okay.
They tried to get the ox too, but it wasn't in the budget.
Okay.
I'm going to find that. You guys start talking about Richie's first encounter with Paul.
So, first encounter with Paul, he comes up, I think me and you have a similar note here, Luke, but a Jack and the Beanstalk reference.
Yeah, totally.
Give me back my hen and give me my harp, or I'm going to eat you. I'm going to fuck you up, kid. Mm-hmm. Or something along those lines. And it's, kind of, okay, so again, going back to the fairy tale kind of, and actually this is American lore, so this would fall under fairy tale as well, using Paul Bunyan as a...
Yeah, absolutely.
Kind of jumping point. But even then, even up until the swing of the axe, he didn't know if it was, he thought he fell asleep,
Right. Even older Richie never believed it until what we see at second Paul, right? I mean, even then he was like, well, that was just a dream. That didn't really count. Every time, I talked to Mike, every time I talked to Bill, that didn't really happen.
Yeah.
I don't believe him. I think deep down he knows that it happened. He just, again, because he's so smart, he's trying to rationalize it. He's trying to logic his way out of it, which, man, I'm really I never before, every time I read this book, Richie just drove me freaking nuts. And even reading this chapter today, I'm like, okay, I need your brain to settle down so I can follow your thought process. But the more I sort of think deeply on Richie, the more I realize he is really smart, and really with it and really logical and really that brain is amazing of his. So maybe he's too logical to be able to fully accept it. And we noticed that even as a kid, he did that a lot over and over again. Well, I don't know. Well, maybe it's this. Well, he always tried to justify it. And the rest of the kids, barring Stan, but the rest of the kids.
Poor Stan.
Oh, Stan. But the rest of the kids were like, this is what it is. This is what I see. This is what's going on. But Richie and to another degree, Stan were like, okay, I'm going to take your word for it, but not really. Even though I've had those experiences, I'm just not ready to let go of that quote unquote grown up idea, that logic piece of it, of this can't really be a thing.
Right. I'm going to support you in believing this, but I just quite can't do it. I can't shut that logic piece of, there's no way this can be true. I mean, even what Eddie Corcoran was doing that too. He just got killed because of it. But he was like, there's like, as he's running away, he's like, there is just no goddamn way this is actually happening. I'm still gonna run, but there's no way this is happening. And I'm glad you brought that up about Richie in basically his chapter with Bill was the main time we really got to see that, I think. Mm-hmm. And yeah, it's just interesting to see it continuing here as well, that even older Richie is kind of second guessing continually, forcing himself to second guess if it was true or not.
So Richie may or may not have been attacked by the giant statue when he was younger, except he totally did and dreamt of it. But now here we are, grown up Richie. Guess what happens? Same damn thing.
Yeah.
Fool me once, shame on you, right?
Yeah.
Fool me twice, buy better shoes to run in. I don't know what to tell you.
Exactly.
Yeah, no, exactly. And I do like the line because now it's not Paul Bunyan in this. It's Pennywise, just a giant fucking clown.
God, that's a great visual.
Yeah. But I love the line of, I could have you now if I wanted, but I could have you if I wanted you right now, but this is going to be so much fun. Basically this is kind of counterintuitive to what he's telling everybody else of run, get out, run. And he's telling Richie, I want this. I want you. So I get the feeling that Richie's one of his prime targets because of that.
Well, I know they told Ben to leave.
And he told
did they tell Eddie to leave? I felt like, and I don't remember. It's been a while.
I feel like he's put the challenge out there to multiple people. Like he definitely was just telling Ben to leave, or I'm going to kill you and your friends. For Eddie, I feel like he also said, kind of like brought the challenge of like, you should get the fuck out of here unless you want to come down here and come after me. It's not going to go well for you. You don't want to do that. Bev, I thought, kind of got a similar thing too, where he kind of challenged her to come down, and maybe that's just the allusions to that she made with connecting to Under the City, with the sewers and things. That I don't know. Yeah, I didn't check back either, but I can see where you're coming from.
Yeah, it's more like, I don't know. I don't know if I trust, this is going to sound dumb because I obviously don't trust Pennywise. I get that. But him saying, I could have you now if I wanted you. Could he? Like, I'm really curious about that because he begged them all to come back. Now he's trying to push them away, but also egg them down. And then push them away and then egg them down. I don't know if he knows what he wants or what he can do. I think Pennywise thinks he could take Richie right now, but I also think he's afraid of each of them individually. And it's like literally Scooby-Doo, right? Like, I'm not going to take them all down because I'm scared of them, so I'm going to get them all together and just take them all out at once.
That's how I'm viewing it, is if he kills one of them right now, then the rest will maybe scatter. I mean, some of them may leave. He might not get those kills. He's doing everything he can to give visual and mental proof to all of them because he knows they're working together. He came after them all together at the reunion. Mm-hmm. And so he's trying to get them even more committed to coming after him is how I've viewed it so far, so that he can come, so that Pennywise can outright take them all out without missing one.
Yeah. And then also, I will say this, keep in mind, all of this is happening at the exact same time between Ben, Eddie, Bev, Richie, up to this point. We're all at roughly the same hour, same time frame, so this is probably all happening fairly close to the minute of each other. So Pennywise is bouncing from one to the other, to the other, to the other. The sense of it, he might be able to split and do all that, but it's,
it's just all about time.
Sorry, that gave me a headache right there. That word. We're not going to talk about that T word.
We're past it.
Yeah. We got it on all three shows, so.
We did. So, another thing that really stood out to me after he kind of gets away from the Colossus, Henry Bowers, that then turns into the clown. Again, there's a lot of eye symbolism here that he talks directly about, but he also has the burning pain in his eyes a couple times here, right? I mean, it happens like two different times. And it was also Richie that as soon as he crossed the line into Derry, when he got out of his car, with the chapter before, I think it was chapter 10, no, like maybe 9. No, it's chapter 8, I actually have it written right there. that right when he crossed into Derry, he got out of the car, and then he had like a blinding, like fish scales falling from his eyes, like stabbing needle pain. And so like instantly I was like, oh, here comes the eye. And he had the eyeball at his little cracker monster, right?
Yeah.
So just a lot going on with his eyes.
Yeah, and I can feel his pain as a contact where the eye pain is probably the second worst pain I've ever had in my life, right behind teeth. But with it, every time he talked about it, I had to rub my eyes, and like they would start like watering, and just sympathy pains for him. So it's like, son of a bitch.
Same.
Stop talking about it.
Same.
Got to make sure the eye drops were there.
Yeah. It's definitely, you can feel it. And the fact that he finally realized what the pain was coming from, or at least the last time he felt it, that it was smoke, that was really interesting. That connection back to, like, he's like, at least he's naming it. But yeah.
I actually missed that. I didn't realize that he had found a reason for why they were hurting.
So it says, so this was like the middle of the chapter, eye pain one. It says, a sharp pain needled at his eyes for the second time that day, and he clutched at them, a startled moan coming out of him. Then it was gone again, as quickly as it had come. But he had also smelled something, hadn't he? Something that wasn't really there, but something that had been there. Something that made him think of, I'm right here with you, Richie. Hold my hand. Can you catch hold? Mike Hanlon. It was smoke that had made his eyes sting and water. 27 years ago, they had breathed that smoke. In the end, there had just been Mike and himself left, and then they had seen, but it was gone. So that combination of the smoke pain and the smoke smell and a memory that he can't quite grasp.
Okay, so you're saying that that's confirming that it was smoke in more current time?
Yeah, that it was the same pain. That something that had been there. Okay. Something that wasn't really there, but something that had been there. It was smoke that had made his eyes sting and water. Okay. So, yeah.
I just missed that. Yeah, I get more caught up on the Mike Hanlon portion of it, like the relationship between those two.
Ooh, that they actually had one.
Right. We never see Mike interact.
Yeah.
I'm so caught up on it.
So my next,
Mike a lot.
Yeah.
Give it to Mikey. He'll like it.
So my next note on the eye stuff, I had to look up as I was kind of finalizing my notes tonight of The Crawling Eye. It was a movie that was released in 1958. It's also known as The Trollberg Terror. I watched about 20 minutes of it on high speed just to kind of get a feel for it. It's kind of a creepy, but cheesy B-movie style thing. But basically the plot is a group is stuck on a mountain as some clouds roll in, and then a evil creature comes out in it that ends up killing or whatever. Didn't get to the end of it, but it kind of definitely made me feel like this is what inspired The Mist.
Okay.
Which is another Stephen King book movie adaptation kind of thing that it was like, okay, yep, I definitely see that. So
I have seen that movie. I saw that in theaters. That was like
nice.
2005.
Spoiler, I have not.
Not a good movie. I remember it not being very good.
The ending of the movie is better than the book, according to Stephen King. Stephen King wishes he would have wrote that ending.
Okay. The ending from the film?
From the film, yes.
Okay. That's one of the Stephen King books I have not read.
Oh, okay.
All right. What's next, gentlemen? Any other thoughts before we wrap it up here?
I have a couple here real quick. Imagine being the dad or the son. You see a grown man just screaming up at a plastic Paul Bunyan statue, clutching his eyes, in a weird, black man style voice. And then all of a sudden the guy runs off and the son starts freaking out because the clown yelled back at Richie. The dad didn't hear it. The son did. Mm-hmm. That'd be kind of a fucked up situation, to be the father in that.
You'd blame the guy running. What did you do to scare my son?
Yeah.
I really like that each of the adults is fighting back against Pennywise in their own way, even as they're really scared, even as they don't realize that they're going to fight back. Like, they're each doing something at least to kind of get back at him, which is then throwing off it and throwing off Pennywise, which I like. Let's keep him on his toes.
Yeah, absolutely.
Great.
And every time I've said this a couple times in the past couple episodes, every time we've seen someone fight back, it tends to work out for them. Like, if you have that personal self-confidence that, hey, you can make a difference against the monster, in general, it's worked out.
This
Either
is
running away or fighting back. It's generally worked out.
Yeah, and I'm kind of getting the feeling on this book lately, or just on this read-through, that this is Stephen King's way of going with the old adage of bullies are just big chickens, and if you actually stand up to them, you're going to be okay. You're going to be fine. And every instance we've seen so far, that kind of does play out.
Don't forget, though, it's King.
I know.
That means nothing. Trust
know.
nothing.
I-
Just saying.
I'm saying, as I said, up to this point.
Okay.
It has.
I'm warning the new reader. Trust nothing.
That's clear.
So you don't hold nothing as how it seems. Not only is it nothing as it seems, even the things you think, oh, that can't be as it seems. It's still not the way it seems that it should be.
And it's a lot more fucked up.
Lots.
So
Ooh.
my last note here is kind of the marquee sign in City Center that has Richie Tozier, Man of 1,000 Voices, returns to Derry, Land of 1,000 Dances. So this is bringing the dancing back as well, right? I mean, so we've Bob Gray, the dancing clown. We had even just last section with Bev, I forget exactly where they were talking about it, but I think it was when she was talking about when Mrs. Kirsch, as the old crone, was talking about her father, and he loved dancing and all these things. And it's just, so we have Derry is the land of 1,000 dances. I am right now feeling like 1,000 dances means like 1,000 monsters that he can play, or like 1,000 terrors, basically being a kind of a play on words here, that dancing and what he's able to do go hand in hand.
I think that sounds like a very accurate prediction. Now it's time for everyone's favorite section, questions for the new reader. Benj, what you got for Luke?
All right, so this is for the group. This isn't just for Luke here, but who would be in your All Dead show?
It's a big question.
It is.
Kurt Cobain.
Okay. In what role?
Singer.
Okay.
Guitar player.
All right.
I'd want Lennon.
As
Everything else. That's it.
Cobain and Lennon, just a
Yes.
duel.
Yes. I think that sounds amazing. I'm in. They need a drummer, but I know no drummers that are dead. So somebody pick one for
You
me.
can go with John Bonham.
That's-
One for you.
Great.
That's
Done.
the one I have.
I'm in. I would get like 1,000,000 points from my husband for that, by the way.
I'm gonna pick James Sullivan, the Rev, as my drummer from Avenged
okay.
Sevenfold.
Yeah, very
I'm gonna
nice.
pick Dimebag Darrell as my guitarist from Pantera and
Okay.
Damage Plan. I'd hate to say somebody and find out they're not actually dead. Well, actually, that would be it'd be better to go the other way, right?
Yeah,
So,
yeah.
I'm kind of blanking on who I'd want to be a singer. For me, it would not be Kurt Cobain at all. I don't know.
Michael Jackson.
So
I
do have-
think Michael Jackson could work with Dimebag
Prince.
Darrell, and
Prince. Oh, Prince would be a good guitar.
Mhm.
that's interesting.
Robin Williams. Oh, wait.
David Bowie.
Ooh, Bowie. See, that's a good call,
Petty.
too.
Luke, we know your love for Petty.
Not in my band. It's a good question, though.
So
I'd have to think about it a little bit more. Maybe I'll think about it and get back to you.
I feel like that'll be a great thing for you to tweet out.
Yeah, I will put that
on the
out. But
episode.
here's mine. Lead singer is Freddie Mercury, also playing piano.
Nope, you win. Done.
Guitar player Randy Rhoads.
Awesome. Love that. Yep. love
John
that.
Bonham on drums. Cliff Burton on
Ooh,
bass.
There you go. That's,
And backup vocals just this week, Aretha Franklin.
yeah.
Wait, you're putting her on backup?
Duel with Freddie? Come on.
But it's
Freddie.
Aretha.
But it's Freddie.
Ready to. But they're both dynamic.
I don't know if you could put them together.
They would work.
That's a lot of Queen on one stage.
It's a lot of diva, but I wanted to get that joke in there too and give my respect because
Yeah.
I am an Aretha fan.
So just this week, 5 weeks
ago. Yeah.
The week of recording.
We could
the
record
week of
this.
We're slightly ahead. All right. I have questions that are less fun.
Okay, I'm ready.
And okay. So even though you didn't pay attention, I gave it to you. What do you think Mike and Richie see in 1958 in the smoke?
And it says that they were the last two left, right? It
Yes.
says that they were the last ones
Yes.
seeing whatever this was.
Yes.
Like I definitely feel like it's a fire.
Intuition, I see.
Deducing here. I don't think it's a chemical plant necessarily, is my point. I think it's combustion fire. And I feel like they are going to burn something down to attack it. And I would want to say the house on Niebolt Street.
Ooh.
But we just saw that again. Like, that's where I'm like, that's to me, if we hadn't had Eddie's chapter already, I'd be like, Niebolt, burn it down, easy. But we literally just re-saw that, didn't we?
Sorry.
I'm gonna say they see the bluish purple that you see in the middle of a super hot fire. Sorry. Shout out to an inside joke on that one.
Don't know the joke.
Oh, I do. That would be our brother Matthew.
Yeah, his favorite color.
Gotcha. Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah.
He's special. He's this guest with drunk dialing.
Yeah, that's true. He has been on this show before.
All right.
My actual answer, I'm going to go ahead and say they see part of the Barrens burning down.
Okay. Last one. It's another prediction. What was the apocalyptic rock fight?
I feel like there was a reference, an allusion made to this in an earlier chapter at some point. Maybe not. Maybe I just saw it on the map that we have printed off. I was like, looking around, that's going to be a thing. Apocalyptic rock fight. Slight spoiler, I guess, but not really. But I mean, it clearly seems to be a 6 or 7 on 3, like V3, maybe 4 fight. Whoever this fourth friend of Bowers and Huggins and Chris O'Mai might be, and it just seems like someone is gonna get pretty badly hurt in this, whatever this rock fight is. Like this is where, like kind of I mentioned earlier, I think it was this section where those 3 are going to become instruments of it. And similar to what we saw in chapter 2 with Adrian Mellon and the 3 guys there, I can't remember their name. Webby was one of them, Ed Gardner, and I don't remember the third one. But that he's going to take them over and just go straight vicious murder intent with those 3 towards the Losers Club.
Okay. Do you have any thoughts for us?
No. I mean, I really like the discussion that we had on kind of figuring out who Richie is and why he is kind of superpowered, and that he learned over time to use that. That really stuck with me. And, because there's been a lot of times in earlier chapters where I felt like Richie was the one that got it. Like that he was the one that could comment on everybody because he was the one who saw how everyone fit. That just seems to be something that he's really in tune with, is understanding each of their roles and, one, making fun of them for that because that's the dynamic that they bring together, and it works. And I just like to see that it also applies here with older Richie.
Yeah. Now, one note going with that, Luke, that I just thought of, Richie kind of has the mentality of, at least going back to the chapter of him and Bill, because he's like, he starts to bring up the Paul Bunyan story of what happened. But he's like, no, it was just a dream. It was nothing. He thinks his mind works so weird. At this point, like as an adult, he gets it. He knows how to harness that bastard. But as a kid, he didn't know how to harness it. And so he didn't know he could trust his own ability or his own, shortcomings in that sense to not, even when everybody else has opened up about everything that happened to them, he's like, no, mine was just a dream. Mine wasn't real. And he didn't know how to own it at that point.
He didn't know how to control it, and so he realized his over-imagination likely just fed him this story, where everyone else is seeing it for face value because it is. And he's second-guessing it because he's like, my crazy mind, yeah, like, there's no way. Like, I like that. It's a good thought.
Okay. Now we move on to my favorite thing. I'm going to start with mine. My favorite thing is the idea of when you come back and meet with people you knew as kids and you fall back into those same roles. And it's, the former Brock guy who's a mathematician and the priest who used to be the comedian, that idea of reverting. That was my favorite kind of idea in this chapter because I think it's a broader idea that can apply to a lot of things instead of just this book. That stuck with me. Benji, how about you?
In honor of Trash Mouth's return, City Center proudly presents the Richie Tozier All Dead Rock Show. Buddy Holly, Richie Valens, and the Big Bopper, Frankie Lime, Gene Vincent, Marvin Gaye, House Band, Jimi Hendrix, lead guitar, John Lennon, rhythm guitar, Phil Lynott, bass, Keith Moon on drums, special guest vocalist Jim Morrison. Welcome home, Richie. You're dead too. It's a great callback to the third chapter or Richie's first chapter of where he's playing like Marvin Gaye, and he's like, oh, he was a new introduction to the All Dead All-Stars, and I like that. I like the nostalgia aspect that King brings.
Okay. And Luke, how about you?
There was power in music, a power which seemed to most rightfully belong to all skinny kids, fat kids, ugly kids, shy kids, the world's losers, in short. In it, he felt a mad, hilarious voltage, which had the power to both kill and exalt.
Magic,
or music, a magic beyond anything we do here at Hogwarts,
is what that makes me think of, and as a musician and a family of musicians, some people just get music, and it just is another level for some people, and I don't think everyone has that, and Richie has that. He's the kind of guy that gets goosebumps when he hears songs. He gets the tingly up his back, and not everyone has that. I like that he's got that. It gives him a lot of characterization, and the fact that he kind of brings in, hey, the losers everywhere are the ones that kind of find themselves in music because the non-losers don't necessarily need to.
Yeah, no, that's absolutely true.
And that brings us to a close. Find us on Twitter at FloatsDownHere. Email us at floatsdownhere@gmail.com. Subscribe and rate at iTunes. We appreciate every single rating and review that you give us. Today's episode is brought to you by thepodcastthat.com, specifically our Support Us page. You know what the best part of the Support Us page is this week? The Amazon affiliates link. I shop on Amazon all the time, and you do too, because Amazon's the best. So go to our Support Us page at thepodcastthat.com/support us, scroll down, and find the Amazon link. Click the button, shop on Amazon, and you know what happens? You shop on Amazon just like you always do, but we get a little bit of kickback because you went through our website. We would appreciate it. And we also have a special curated list of things to survive Pennywise. Find our list that you can shop when you're shopping on Amazon, because you do all the time. Go ahead and shop for our Amazon wish list on things to do as part of the Losers Club Surviving in Derry. Join us next time as we continue our trek through Chapter 11 walking tours as we discuss Part 5. Bill Denborough sees a ghost.
You'll float too.
Stay imaginary.
Thanks.